Building the hands-free mic PTT switch into a switch blank in my car. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Just realised I should actually be filming what I'm doing, and, well, I'm not. So, now I am. So, I've got in bits in the vise here, my hands-free microphone switch. The rest of it's still down in the car. That'll become apparent shortly. This is one of the trim panels from my car, with a blanking position for a switch in it. Now, I thought this would come out. Turns out, no. That's a solid piece of plastic. So that isn't coming out. But there was a hole punched in here for a switch, which wasn't fitted. There's no wiring loom behind there anyway that I can see that would be for anything that switch is for. The switch blank itself, which is also on the desk, probably buried actually, because I've been doing this all off camera and I've not actually started. Actually looks like a physical switch itself at the back. It's not just a little piece of plastic that just clips in there. It's like the size of the whole switch. It's getting a hole drilled in it eventually to accommodate the switch from this. Now I've got to modify that, and I've had a look at what kind of switch this might be. It looks like a changeover switch. So I also might have to put a hole in for the LED as well, but we'll look into that as and when I come to that. So it was a bit of a pain to get the switch blank out. I was poking and prodding at it with a spudger, and also the same applied for that. I had to poke and prod it with a spudger. That's the switch there. So the back of it looks like there's supposed to be a switch in there, but the front of it, it's just this grey piece of plastic. It's all moulded together as one piece, because this is just a standard Renault part, as you can tell by the Renault logo on it. Just a reminder of who owns Dacia, which, you know, I don't really need to be reminded of that. So that's in there. I've taken this circuit board off it so I could see what the switch was. And also, because I'm probably going to have to remove the switch anyway, I call that the anti-waffle circuit because that makes a buzzing noise. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because on the gear stick it isn't ideal because of the fact that there's cup holders behind there, and I keep knocking these two buttons, which, although they're for channel up-down, they don't serve that purpose because channel up-down isn't supported on the Yaesu FTM 400, I think the 100 as well, and possibly the 300 and the 500, which this will probably also work with. This just sends a 4 and a 7 respectively. It's a bit odd. The microphone supplied with the radio is a DTMF mic, and I think I have it to hand actually. Surprisingly enough, there it is. That's the microphone that's supplied with the FTM 400. Now I could put that in the car and temporarily use it, but the radio's under the seats. That's not ideal. So, plan of action, take the switch off that, put a hole in that, put the switch in through the hole. I might need to cut this piece of plastic out. If I need to replace this with a blank one that hasn't had a hole drilled through it, I can probably just buy a new one off eBay or a scrapyard. Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed that this front bit doesn't come off though. So my desk's now a bit of a mess because, well, it was anyway. I've just made it more of a mess. I wasn't expecting to film, and I thought, hang on, yeah, I will film this. So this isn't really planned. So the anti-waffle circuit seems to connect to the two pins on the switch there and this pin here. I'm going to have to meter that switch to find out whether it's a changeover switch or whether I can use another switch I might have lying around. So I'll have to go get the multimeter. And that's in the other room because I've been checking the battery on something else, and yeah, that battery has not taken a charge. So I'll go get the multimeter. So I've got the multimeter in shot. I'm not sure what position the switch is in, so it is in the vise. Check that's working first. Yeah. I'm getting continuity through that switch, so I can't actually tell what it is. Yeah, I'd probably have to remove the switch to do that. So that'll be the next job I do. I need to go put some water on my soldering iron sponge. Okay, so I need my desoldering tool, the solder sucker, in order to get this switch off. It might take a little bit more work than expected to get the switch off, but I'm going to get the switch off so I can actually properly meter it. And the anti-waffle circuit is connected to 2 of the pins on that switch. I can look back at the video to find out where they're connected anyway. It's that one and that one there. All I've got to do is remove the switch. So we're using lead solder here for when I do all the resoldering back together, because I don't like lead-free solder. It is absolutely awful. I'm just trying to see what I did with the solder sucker, because I did have it, and now I can't seem to find it. And obviously I want to get this switch out. So I'll just pause while I see if I can find that. Okay, that was slightly off camera actually. I'm going to turn off the multimeter because I don't need the multimeter for the moment. So we're going to try and remove this switch. This might be difficult to do. Maybe not. Try that again. Yeah, the little wire for the anti-waffle circuit's just come off that, but that's fine. I can reinstate that later. Right, has that been enough to remove the switch? No, the switch is actually still in there. That's slightly annoying. I have to melt the solder around the pins so I can get it to move. No. Pop back in the vise. If I can open the vise, and the vise will behave itself. The vise is at a funny angle from the last video where I worked on that charger, which is still plugged in, which I didn't realise until after the fact. So let's put some more solder on this iron and let's see if we can get any more of this solder off here. Moving around in the vise, so obviously the vise is not tight enough. Tighten it up a bit more. There we go, that'll help. Might help also if I... Okay, so that's one of the other anti-waffle circuit wires. Can't remember how long that circuit runs for. It certainly runs long enough to stop your waffling. And let's see, can I? As long as I don't cause damage to the pads, I should be okay. Seeing if I can rock the switch out at all without damaging anything. Okay, got that side up. Middle pin kind of up. See, get this last one out. There we go. Not how you desolder something, but that's worked. That has worked. So let's try and meter that switch again. Now we've got it removed from the board. So obviously, if it's a changeover switch, I obviously need to know which pin is which. Okay, no, nothing there. Nothing between those two. Okay. Let's move the switch from there, switch it to the other setting, and let's see what happens next. So we've got that wire there. This is just a standard switch and I should be okay. So I'm just going to put that up there so don't Okay, so the top pin and middle pin seem to do something when I flick the switch, but what about, okay, it's bottom pin and middle pin rather. What about if I do it this way? Okay, nothing there. But what about there? Yeah, it appears to be a changeover switch. It's a changeover switch, so I can't use the other switch I was thinking of using. Okay, so I want that to fit into here. Well, obviously it's not going to go in just yet. In fact, it's not going to go in there at all. It's a bit of a snug fit. So what I'm going to have to do there is I'm either going to have to chop that off or modify it. I don't think it's the toggle butting out against the bottom. But I do need to drill a hole in that, as central as possible. I'm going to do the hole drilling off camera, but first of all I need to know what size drill bit I need, because I need to know how I'm going to fit that through there. And the best tool for that is in fact these calipers. These are from Lidl, these calipers. So you can get lots of good tools from Lidl. I bought these for 3D printing, so measuring up stuff to, if I needed to 3D print something of a specific size. So I'm going to measure that, so I know what size drill bit I will need to drill the hole. If I haven't accidentally zeroed it, which I have actually. So let's start again. So, okay, zero that out, open it up. And I'm going to be careful here that I don't accidentally zero it. That's the nut, don't want to measure that. It says it's 5.83 mil, so 6 mil drill bit will do nicely. 6 mil drill bit. So I'll see if I've got a 6 mil drill bit, and I'll drill that hole off camera, because you don't want to be listening to the noise of the drill, because the drill I have is a mains powered drill, and it's well, not really video and audio friendly. So I'll go drill that hole. Now I did say when I got this car I wouldn't drill any holes in it. That is the only exception, because this can be replaced. This is a replaceable part. That's a bit of this stuff on it. Let's just check that'll go through there. It's a snug fit, but it fits. If I try pushing that through there, not quite. Still a bit of a snug fit in there, so I think that might need filing out. The switch doesn't quite fit in there, so I might either need to file that out or snap it out, because I wanted the switch just to drop in there nicely. But that's quite a snug fit, so that's going to have to be made a bit thinner, or just the sides cutting out. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Or I could just break it off. So let's bring it back in. So what I need to do, take them out and put the switch in there. So I've managed to clear out all of the stuff in there, and I've tested the switch for size in there, and it's fitting okay. So I've now got to wire that back onto the board, and it will obviously have to use wires rather than what I would like it to use, because I can't just stick the board on the back of that. So that's the next job. And it doesn't matter which way it wires up, because it's just a changeover switch. It will matter as far as the anti-waffle circuit's concerned, because I do want to try and keep hold of that if I can. But otherwise, so far so good. The switch is now kind of in place. So I've got to take it back out so I can actually do soldering, because I can't solder in there. Right, so I'm going to test the switch again so I can work out which pin is the common pin and which pins are, without doing that, which pins are not the common pin. So if I go to the two outers first, nothing between those. But outer to the middle one, we'll check I'm not getting a false reading there. That looks fine. So the other outer to middle, should do nothing at this moment in time. Yep, unless I flick the switch, which is going to prove difficult. The switch is flicked. I'll hazard a guess the middle pin's common. So I'll put a black wire on the common, and I'll put a red wire. I'm just going to use this wire, this should be fine. And that will make it hopefully wire up back into the board. So that's the next job we're going to do. I'm going to grab a bit of this wire. This is just a hookup wire. Don't want too much of it because I don't want the board too far away, because what I might try and do with the board is stick it to the back of there if I can. Otherwise I can just tuck it in there, one of the two. I'll try that for size. Where's the main board? And let's see if that'll fit. Hope it will. The main board should actually be on the end of the cable from the thing. And it does sort of fit in there, but I'd have to remove these two switches, and don't really want to remove the two switches if I can. And that wire should actually be facing down, so it kind of fits in there, but not how I would like. And also I need to accommodate the anti-waffle circuit. So if I can pull these coloured caps off these buttons, it may actually fit in there, because I think it's just those coloured caps that are actually fouling that. I don't think it's the buttons themselves. So the buttons themselves might fit through these two holes in the top, and then they'd never get pressed. The potentiometer on there doesn't need to be set. So I'm going to see if those will fit if I take these caps off, assuming I can get them off. Oop. Yeah, that's well on. So is that. So these are just standard tactile switches. So I'm just going to put the equipment wire down while I see if I can remove those. Yeah. Oop. Yeah, they just come off easy. See if it'll fit now. And short answer to that is not really. And I don't want to cut a hole in there just to run the wiring through. So I may have to stick the board and the anti-waffle circuit somewhere over here. Not sure which way that's going to go yet, because we need to get the switch connected up. I need to put some wires on the switch. So I'm going to use the thin wire here. This is just standard equipment wire. There's no point in using thicker wire than that. I shouldn't think so anyway. But I will be testing it in situ, and if it doesn't work, obviously I've got to take it out of the car and do it all again. So these are wire strippers, but they will cut through this stuff. So I'm going to cut through that. And I need to strip and tin one end of that. So that's just, like I said, it's just standard equipment wire. It should do the job. But if there's any problems, all I have to do is remove from the car and strippers in focus, that would be good. Remove from the car and we'll go from there. So to tin the wire, I have to bring in the helping hands because I've got the switch in the vise. And you know, that's not really ideal. So again, lead solder. No lead-free solder around here. Refuse to use that. I know people say it's poisonous. It isn't. Well, maybe if you eat it. But I don't think people have died from lead poisoning from using solder. I certainly haven't. I'm still here to tell the tale. I was using lead solder. I'll put fresh solder on the switch as well. Like so. That should just flow together, all being well. Well, that's the theory. Doesn't necessarily mean that will actually happen. The insulation should just shrivel back like it does. Okay, are we good? We are good. And I'll trim that back so it looks nice and tidy. I don't know if anyone has ever modified one of these hands-free mic switches before. I certainly haven't. So this is all a new experience to me. And, well, if it goes right, it goes right. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. So I'm just going to get more of this wire. It's the red hookup wire. If it goes right, it goes right. It goes wrong, it goes wrong. It's all experimenting. So I'm going to chop that down again. If I knew I was going to be filming, I would have tidied up my desk a bit more than what it was. And strip the wire again. Quite a lot of little tools I have here. These wire strippers, the calipers. Not the vise, that's actually Aldi. So it just shows you can get decent tools for a cheap price from your favourite discount German supermarket. The multimeter, I think that was a Rally purchase. I think I got that at Blackpool actually. And I think I got that from Canny Components off the top of my head. And the lead solder came from Canny Components as well. Seems to be the only place I can get that stuff. I might be able to get it other places. And, of course, this is Duratool branded, so therefore I can get it from CPC probably. Yeah, a lot of my screwdrivers have come from Lidl as well. Not all of them. I've got a Rolson screwdriver set somewhere. It's precision screwdrivers. The bits have gone missing like they always do. Fresh solder on that. Let's do the same thing again. Then we'll do the middle one last. Ow, 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 ow. Yep. The snips I've been using, they came with my 3D printer, which is an Ender 3 3D printer. I think it's the Ender 3 Pro off the top of my head. I can't remember. It's been that long since I actually used it. I'm going to have to get it all ready to be used again, because I think there will be some things I will need to 3D print at some point. I have some black wire of that exact same gauge. Like I say, it's just black hookup wire. It's not anything major, not going to be carrying a lot of current. It wouldn't be anyway, because all that's doing is switching the transmitter on and off. It's just acting as a switch. I think it's done by a transistor on that board. I'm not sure. There was a transistor-y looking component on the board, but I didn't actually see what it was. Might as well use the snips this time to cut it. I'm not actually sure if it was a transistor or not. Okay, so bring the wire strippers back in. That was out of focus for you guys, wasn't it? Yes, it's focusing on the multimeter for some reason. Don't know why. Focus on the helping hands. And same again, tin it with lead solder. So lead solder is just more reliable in the long run. That switch itself will have lead-free solder in it, I can guarantee it. And I'll put some more on the centre contact. Try not to linger with the soldering iron on the switch in case I melt it. Because obviously I don't want to melt the switch, do I? Fortuitously, with the black one, I don't have to trim it down. So that's the switch now, got some tails on it. So the next thing I need to do is put the wires in the board. And also position the board where I want it to go, and also put the anti-waffle circuit on, which is there and there. And I will obviously need to strip the top wire, and actually might not need to do that, but I may need to do that. Strip the top wire longer and the middle wire longer, so it's that one and that one there, I believe, for the anti-waffle circuit, which turns off the transmitter after a certain amount of time. I call it the anti-waffle circuit. I've taken the little caps off the two little buttons here because I no longer need those. There is a resistor-like component across the two of those. I'm going to leave the switches in because I think the rest of the components on the board might be somewhat important. The LED for indication that the transmitter is on may actually have to be obscured, but I don't know yet. Depends on if I can see a spot where I can put the LED once I get the switch in. Because now I've soldered the wires, the switch can now go into the little blanking thing. Ooh. And it's a fiddly job, but it does go in and it does fit. And then obviously I've got to test it to find out which side is transmit and which side is receive. But I can't do that till I get to the car. And we'll be doing that later on when I put it back into the car. Don't have a spanner that fits that, surprisingly enough. I have everything else, but I don't have a spanner to fit that. So what I'm going to have to use instead is a pair of pliers. And I was using a big chunky pair of pliers, these orange handled ones here that I got many years ago from the now defunct Wilko. Yet another great high street name that has been taken from us far too soon. I compare it to the modern day Woolworths, to be honest, although it was still around when Woolworths was around. Yeah, I compare Wilko to Woolworths because their fates were kind of the same, except Wilko lasted a bit longer. They both went bust. I did do a good selection of tools, though. Right, that's now in there. And when I put it back into the car to complete the part, that goes in like that. And I'll label it so I know which side's TX and RX with my labelling machine if it's going to play ball today, because I think the last time I had it out it didn't play ball. If not, I could do it the good... that needs a new battery actually. I've got a battery for that, spare to PP3. And the reason why I've not cut the wires all to length yet is because I need to figure out where I'm putting the main board and the anti-waffle board. Now the anti-waffle board uses a buzzer based on one of these things. I don't have another buzzer, which is slightly annoying. So if I can't get that out and end up destroying it, let's see if I can gently poke it from that side with something not too pointy. It might work. Oh, the disc did pop out. That's good. It was just held on with a bit of nasty glue. So the anti-waffle board can still be used. The disc will probably just end up floating in the air. Not sure whether it'll actually buzz, but you know, I don't waffle usually. So anti-waffle board ready to go on the bottom of the main board, because that will actually cut the transmitter as well. Well, that's the theory, but there's a timeout timer on the 400 anyway, and I think I already have that set. So I need to find this, which is where I want to put the main board, and figure out where the main board is actually going to go. And the main board needs to be in as such, so it's not going to rattle around and the wires aren't going to interfere with putting this back in the car. Could theoretically go behind the switch, but that depends on whether it will do that with the anti-waffle board in place. I'm going to have to put the anti-waffle board in as well, just to test it. The little wire between the resistor and the anti-waffle circuit seems to not be working. I mean, I could not bother putting that circuit in and the board would probably still work, but it might be necessary for something. Looks like it might have to go on the on there with a sticky pad, I think, or something sticky. Yeah, I might have to glue it. Oop. I might have to glue it on to bring it in. I might be able to glue it onto there and bring the wires round at an angle, but but I'd much rather it'd be that way up, because that's the top and the round bit there's the bottom. So I'd much rather have it like that. So I might just put a dab of hot melt in there. Do as the Chinese do. Yeah, we'll do as the Chinese do. Okay, so the next job I'm going to do is I'm going to put this switch back into here. Make sure it goes in the right way. Well, it actually can only go in one way. It's a bit tricky. There we go. That's now in. And that's more or less how it will look in the car. Well, not quite how it will look in the car. And I've decided that the board with the switch and the other bit that basically tells me to stop waffling can go over here. Somehow, will it fit that way? Because obviously I don't want it to foul the little clips. Yes, it will fit that way. I need to make those wires long enough so that they'll reach over there. I would suggest that they need to be about that long. So I'll cut them down to just the top of my thumb. Or just above the top of my thumb. There we go. And the next job I'm going to do is strip them. Same wire strippers as before. One. Okay, if we can get that to do its thing. Two. Oop, that didn't work. Try again. Two. And there's bits of wire in the wire strippers. Three. Okay, wire's done. Next to tin them. So each one will have to go into the helping hands one at a time while I do this. The middle wire is the black wire and the two outers are the red. We kind of already ascertained that. Okay, so the black wire is now tinned with a big ball of solder on it, which is not ideal. It'll probably still go through the hole on the board, but if it doesn't, I can soon fix that. I think it's best if I don't try and lean it on top of something round. Okay, next wire. And then finally, this wire. Now to put them into the board, complete with the other circuit. So that's the other circuit, which stops me waffling on, and it goes that way, I believe. And then I need the main board, which has got the interconnections and everything on it. And both these boards need to go on for the purposes of the switch. So before I do that, I'll just get rid of that stray piece of wire that's there, because we no longer need it. That's annoying. That's blocked up the hole doing that, removing that wire. It's no problem though, because I can get the solder sucker on that. Which is what I'm going to do next. I'll use the helping hands for that. Then we can begin the delicate surgery of finishing the job. Now I've somehow managed to put the soldering iron cable under the item in question, so there we go. There we go. Don't know how I've managed to do this, but you know, it happens. Okay, so I need to flip that board up now. The position of those two wires is going to determine which way up's transmit and which way up's receive. So I now need to flip this board over. So I'm going to put the wires through. This is where push one through there. It will fit. Should fit. It may not fit with that big blob of solder on the end. See if I can make that a bit better. There we go, that's gone through. It's just pinged back out. Okay, these do rotate, these clips. Just gonna do that. I don't like to do that very much. Just folded it over. I am not a big fan of doing that. So otherwise that makes getting things back out of boards slightly harder. And that one will be chopped flush. Oop. Anyway, so that's not too much of a major issue. So let's put some fresh solder on there. I like doing a construction project, or a modification project in this case. Trimming that back anyway, because that one is not being used on the other circuit board underneath. I can cut it. These snips are a wee bit blunt, which does not help. Yeah, it looks flush enough. Right. So one wire is now in. It's a double-sided board, which is not helpful. The black wire is the next one I want to put through, but there's a massive blob of solder on the end of that. That's not ideal. Let's bring that down where it will focus, because it's not focusing there. There we go. I'm going to just go off camera while I try and flick that off. Ow. There we go. So I've come back on camera. I'm going to poke that through that hole there. Nope, that still won't go through. Still not going through. I think it would, but it isn't. Right. Try again. Nope, still not quite there. And I don't want to chop this down, because if I do, it won't go through the other board that's to go on underneath. There we go. We're through. We are through. Ooh. The wire for the soldering iron's gone under there again. Okay, I'm going to hold that from underneath while I try and solder it from above, because otherwise it's just going to fall out. That's going to be the fun part. Slightly off the microphone as well, which is not helpful. Yeah, I'm going to have to try and do this in such a manner that I can get it to stay in position, and then it will go through the board underneath. Because this one needs to go through the board underneath. Ow. Okay. I've just held it on with the solder that was already there. And now it's on with the new solder. Ow. That's hot, I shouldn't really touch that when it's hot. And then I've got one more wire to do. And then we should be good. So I'm not going to trim that one down. That was actually staying in place, which is pretty good. A bit more solder than that. There we go. Job done. So the next board is this board. I'm not sure if that peeper's going to work hanging in thin air like that, but it might. So I'm not an expert on those sounders at all. So there were two holes on here, and then there was another one down there as well. The wire for that seems to have gone missing, so I might need to reattach it as appropriate. But I'll check to see if these line up first before I start attaching other wires. If this doesn't go on, then I'm not sure if it's important. Well, it is if you waffle on too much. That goes on alright. To make sure it's not shorting the switch out underneath. Doesn't appear to be. Seems okay. That seems to fit. And I'll have to warm up the glue gun so I can put a little dot of hot melt glue on that, which I'm not sure how long that'll survive in the car for, when the car's getting baked during the summer months. But we'll see. So, seems to fit. The wire from this pin here is missing, but I can soon reinstate that. That could just be an off-cut of component lead, or the wire that was originally there, but I don't know where that wire's gone, so it probably will be an off-cut of component lead, if I've got one. It's just a resistor going through that hole anyway. So I'll use this off-cut of component lead just tacked onto there. Yeah, that's done it. Hopefully that won't fall off when I start reconnecting everything. Okay. Right, here goes. Reinstating the anti-waffle circuit. We'll go for this one first without damaging the sounder. Okay, I'll go for these two up here. Okay, that's now that reinstated. Just hoping that that connection down there is made. It appears to be. So now all I've got to do is snip that off, and that's my now built into the car switch made. So let's get that off there. So that's now all assembled. I've got to find a place to put that and this. Now, I'm not sure whether that will function stuck on there like that. So I'm going to make sure that this isn't going to interfere with too much. Now obviously this little disc can't be anywhere near this circuit board, otherwise it will just... So I think I can squeeze the circuit board in there. Then obviously I've got to drop the wires down and make sure they don't get trapped when I put this back into the car. Hopefully that survived the ordeal. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this down with something. I don't have any double-sided sticky pads, so I'm probably going to have to use the glue gun. Not something I wanted to do, so I'll have to heat the glue gun up. Okay, that's my modification more or less complete. I figured hot melt glue would hold that in. It works for the Chinese with their cheap nasty tat. So that's the switch. Means only I can operate this because this panel is from the driver's side of the car. Driver's side of a right-hand drive car. I will add that because I think the left-hand drive panel might be different. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the left-hand drive version of the car. So this is just the standard trim piece. It's next to the driver's door on the second generation Sandero and the second generation Logan and Logan MCV. I say second generation because Romania had the first generation of those cars. We didn't get them. So it technically is a second generation car. So that wasn't what I thought it was. I thought that was just a blanking plate and would come out, because that's for, I believe that's for the optional LPG thing, which my car doesn't have, because I don't really see the point in that on a 1 litre car, and it didn't come with it anyway. There's something supposed to be there, obviously, but now I've got my little radio switch control there. So I don't know which way is transmit and which way is receive yet, But we're going to find that out next, because I'm going to go put this panel back in the car. Okay, so I'm in the car, I've turned the engine on, because the radio might draw a bit more power than I would like. The hands-free microphone switch is connected up. It's actually, I'll show you where it is. It's over here. So I don't know which side of that's transmit and which side's receive. So at the moment the switch is up towards the top. There's the radio. I'm going to move off that because I don't want to chunk the repeater if we can avoid it. I've got loads of repeaters programmed into this for pretty much all over the country. This hasn't been updated for a while. So let's find, I'll go for 425. I'll drop the squelch to make sure I can't hear anything there. There doesn't appear to be anybody there, so I'll have it on the lowest setting. Right, so that's currently in the up position. Let's see if down is transmit. No, down is actually the receive by the looks of it. Let's see. Or it hasn't worked, we don't know, let's see. Yeah. So down is receive, up is transmit. Let's see if I'm getting the audio out of that. Let's bring in another radio. And obviously check that frequency is in use. Because it's only polite. In fact, that's on high power, that's not ideal. I'm going to go to low power. So I don't really want it on high power for that. I didn't even know it was on high power. So I've got my FT2D. Let's bring that into shot. It's probably out of focus because it's focusing in a different place. Let's see if we can balance that on the steering wheel. I'm not sure I can actually. And focus. There we go. Ooh. So I'll put that into VFO mode. Yeah, I would like to put it into VFO mode. Okay, it's on 145,450 on that one, so I'll just change that. It's on for 5425. Now I'll put the microphone where I can hear it, and I'll turn up my 2D so I can actually hear myself back. Is this frequency in use, please? Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform. I didn't hear myself. Is this frequency in use, please? Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform. Well, we've got audio. I didn't hear anything though, so I won't hang around too long. I'll just wait for, there's a pedestrian going past, so I'll just let them go past and then I will transmit again. Just to be nice. Nothing heard, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, just testing. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, now clear. That seems to be okay. We'll get an audio report off someone on the repeater a little bit later on, but now I've got to put it all back in. Right. Everything's back together. The radio, I've had to just slightly relocate it under the seat so that the microphone cable will reach. The microphone cable's tucked out the way. The cable that takes the audio to the board and then back again, that's also tucked out the way. All it leaves me to do is test that and see if it's working. Again. So I'll have to put the engine back on for this, I think. See if I can get anyone on the repeater. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, checking access on GB3IR. Seems okay. getting into the repeater, but I don't think there's anyone out there on the repeater today on Easter Sunday. But I've checked the audio on the FT2D, that seems to be okay, it's working. I say that's quite nice and neat. It's much better than the arrangement I had with the switch on the gear stick, because that was hitting the cup holders and causing me to get random zeros and or it was either, or was it 4s and 7s? I can't remember what numbers it was. It was something in 7, I know that. But it's all tucked behind there. Should hopefully be fine. All I have to do now is flick that switch. Passengers can't touch it. And that's actually pretty good, because I have had passengers accidentally knock that switch before in the past when I've been driving along, and it's a little bit embarrassing if that happens. So we're good. Anyway, I think I will partake in the eating of chocolate eggs. First of all, there's a couple of other jobs I need to do down here, because our clocks on the night before I filmed this went forward an hour for daylight savings, so I have to set the clock on the car. It's actually 3:15, so I'm gonna have to do that. There's 2 clocks in here. There's one in the instrument cluster there, and there's one in the stereo, but I took the stereo out this morning, so I'd have to have set it anyway. There's no route for getting any wiring through there. So all in all, a nice tidy little solution. If you want to do something very similar, you've got the same sort of car as me, or you've got the Dacia Logan MCV, or the Logan Saloon if you're in countries where you can get that, because they don't sell that. They never sold that in the UK, actually. That's a nice tidy thing to do, and the best bit is that can be completely reversed by virtue of bits either off eBay or the scrapyard. Anyway, hope you have enjoyed me cobbling that together and modifying it, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'll be working a lot now between, obviously, tomorrow, and obviously the Blackpool rally, because I've still got to pay to get there and everything, and maybe buy some stuff. I will be there. I'll make sure I'm there, and if you do see me there, do say hi. I missed the Ripon one due to ill health, unfortunately, but I'm determined to be at Blackpool. Anyway, I will crack on and catch you in the next one. And I'll go partake in eating of eggs while I edit the video. 7-3. Bonus extra footage, just because I can do bonus extra footage. So this is my P-Touch 1090 labelling machine. I've had it for God knows how long. Still get the tape for it because it takes the TZE tapes. It's a bit manky because it's usually gets sat in a cupboard somewhere or something. It doesn't get used often. It does have batteries in it. So I was thinking, why not just label the switch, even though I know what position the switch needs to be in for transmit and receive. So that's what we're going to do when the labelling machine decides it's going to stay where I want it. So if you've never seen one of these labelling machines before, they either have a QWERTY keyboard or, in this case, it's alphabetical order. So what I want is to press the capital letters button, which is that one, and we shall have, I'll show you what I'm typing on the display as well. I can't get the whole thing in because there's just not the room. That, then we press, if it's going to play ball, press print. And it just prints a label out the top like that. Then there's a little cutter. Press that, cuts it off. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to stick it down there. Now, because I need both hands to do that, I'm just going to pause while I do that. And that's the label stuck on the top of the switch there. On the backing paper on those is 2 little strips like that. Comes off in 2 halves. So now I'm going to do another one for receive. So what we will do is I will press the clear button, which I'll just press this one. This is just the backspace button, and then we'll type in RX instead. And then we'll press the print button. I don't have to do this because I'm most likely going to be the only ham driving this car. Well, you know, might as well. That's escaping. Come back. Okay, so that's the label for... try that again. So that's the label for the receive side. So I'm going to have to pause again while I stick that on. And that's the label in place. So I know what position does which, but other people might not. So I know it's in transmit when it's up and receive when it's down. It seems to work all right, as has already been tested. I've not actually tested it on the road. I will try and do that at some point. But overall, I'm happy with the work that I've done. It's much tidier than what it was, and now I don't have to worry about walloping cups in the cup holder when I'm changing gear. Yep, I'm going through the gears there off camera, because unfortunately some coffee spills on there as a result of the switch being there. So I'm going to have to clean that up as well. That won't take long. So I've still got jobs to do today, including partaking of eggs. But I have to say that looks pretty neat. Right, this time I'm really off. 7-3 for now.